Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Ascoli, the inventress. My business is Inventing A to Z. At Inventing A to Z, I work with clients to take their products from concept to fruition, from a napkin idea all the way to the marketplace and everything in between, the right way. If you want to contact me, email me, lisa@inventingatoz.com. My website, inventingatoz.com. Hi, everybody. My name is Lisa Ascoli, the inventress. I'm the CEO and founder of Inventing A to Z. And welcome to the Inventress Podcast. Delighted to have on my show this evening a very, very good friend of mine for many, many years, such a special person, and so grateful to have her on my show. Her name is Sonia Alleyne. Sonia is communications business strategist and so much more. She's a co-founder of Storytellers, Words, Images, Magic, and author of I Kick Ass at Work. Welcome, my very good friend, Sonia Alleyne.
Lisa, it's always so good to talk to you. We've only been able to talk on Zoom lately, but it's been, I'm glad at least we've had that. That's been great.
This is so amazing. And there's so much more to you. I said your bio is so long. And I just want to go backwards a little bit, okay? I'm so proud to have you here. But I want to go back to where we actually met and how we met and how amazing you are at everything you do. What I just said doesn't even encompass most of the things that you've done. And I can't believe how much you've done. We talk about Maria Shriver, Oprah Winfrey, all of the things, like the work that you've done, and you're so young and such a little girl.
I'm such a little girl.
You have been able to embody all of these things that you've done in your life. So we met many years ago. I'm thinking, I don't even know. I was in Black.
I can't remember the year.
So Black Enterprise magazine, for me I was featured in the magazine. I think it was 2013 or something like that. Okay. Or something like that. I don't know my dates. It doesn't matter. But prior to that, I was introduced to you, but I knew who you were. I was introduced to you by Chandra McQueen. And when I we were on an elevator, and she said, "I think that's a person who's going to interview." I think we were in Washington. She goes, "That's Sonia Alleyne."
We were in Baltimore.
Was it Baltimore?
Yep, we were in Baltimore.
And I think that was the first time I was in your presence on an elevator. And I was so just moved and impressed by all of the work you'd done prior to me meeting you. Chandra was like, "Yes, I think she is going to interview you." I'm like, "I hope she's interviewing you." But so I want to go back to Black Enterprise magazine first and talk about all of the things that you did. I mean, you headed your executive director, right?
Well, editorial director. Yeah. So, I mean, it was a really good time. I learned a lot. I met so many amazing people like you. And what has been amazing is that we've been able to keep this friendship over all of these years. So it was a great connector of people and ideas. And I'm really proud of the work that I did there and the things that I was able to contribute to Mr. Graves' legacy. You know, we lost him last year. He died last year. But what an amazing, powerfully inspiring man. And I'm grateful that I got to work with him and learn from him. And like I said, contribute to his legacy.
So you did quite a few things there. I know you're very, very modest, but you headed not only did you do the editorial piece, but you did the television, you did magazine.
Yeah, we did. So I was fortunate.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, I was fortunate to be there as they expanded. So when Mr. Graves started Black Enterprise, it was a publication that had events. And then by the time when Butch took it over, his son, his oldest son, he expanded it into a true multimedia company. So we had 2 television shows. We had the events, we had the main events, but then we had like all of these little custom events that we would do. And we expanded our digital reach as well. And so I was one of the correspondents on the TV shows. And I was also the founding editorial director for the Women of Power Summit, which became one of their leading summits. And then, I was over the career and the lifestyle stuff. I always said I did the fun stuff for the magazine. So I did career and lifestyle. And so, yeah, there were just amazing moments. And so I oversaw some of the franchises that had to deal with careers and diversity and there were so many things that we got involved in. I had such a good time, and I learned so much, and it was one of my best experiences.
And Oprah Winfrey, I mean, I want to talk about that a little bit, because I mean, you were able to meet with her and interview her, and
so I did Oprah Winfrey's really first business interview. They had talked about it when she'd interviewed with Forbes, and Forbes had said they had done the first business interview. But the interview she did with me, we really got into the nitty gritty of the challenges she had running her business and how she ran it. And the truth of the matter is, I was excited to meet her, and then her assistant called and said that she had to travel to New Orleans, so we'd have to do this phone interview. And I was a little depressed. And unfortunately for her, but fortunately for me, she was ill. And so she couldn't go to New Orleans. And so she agreed to have the interview in person. So I got to go to Harpo and sit with Miss Winfrey for it was about 2.5 hours, and she told her story, which was inspiring. There are things that she told me during that meeting that I still think about today and that I still use in my professional journey. And so she ended up she was one of the BE 100s, which was a staple of Black Enterprise, their content. And so the year that I interviewed her, she was the cover story. So
gosh,
that was a thrill. That was one of my professional thrills. Absolutely.
So I have to get down, like, what did that feel like? So you knew, I want to know the night before. So you knew that you're going to have this conversation with Oprah Winfrey. And leading up to that, what did that feel like? Because this is everyone's dream. I don't care who you are. Everybody's dream is to have a conversation with Oprah Winfrey.
Yeah. So you know what's interesting? I didn't say anything to anyone because I didn't want to be overwhelmed with everybody else's stuff that was going on, or the excitement. I didn't want that to overwhelm me so that I wouldn't be able to perform. And I remember Mr. Graves called me the night before, and he said, "Sonia, this is a business interview. We don't want to know about the relationship, and we don't want to know about." And I said, "Of course, Mr. Graves. Yes, Mr. Graves." I mean, I knew that, but that was typical of him, just making sure that you know the direction that we're going. And so I had done all of my research. And what I do a lot is, before I'm getting ready to do something, I sit quietly and just listen. And I just stay quiet. And I ask for guidance, and I ask for direction. And I do that before almost any interview that I do, even before this one. I sit quietly, I ask for guidance and direction. And so it was a really good, we had a really good conversation. She sat for all the time that I needed. It was never, and I know you know this, sometimes you do interviews and people are like, well, how much longer are you going to be? Because I have to be, never stressed that. She sat patiently. And like I said, it was roughly 2.5 hours. And when the article came out, I missed the call. She called me from South Africa to tell me that I had done a good job. And so she liked the article. And so, yeah, so that was cool. That was actually really cool. One of my cool, I've had many cool adventures. That's definitely one of them.
You've had so many cool adventures, but it's because you're cool. You feel like
Thank you, Lisa.
I've always told you you're cool.
And you know that's so mutual, because that's how I feel about you. I think that's why we're such good friends.
And even with like, I knew sitting with you, when you interviewed me, I just knew that it was going to be smooth and it was going to be easy and I wasn't nervous or anything. When I first saw you, I was like, oh my gosh, is that really her? But anyway, so then I knew that when I met you, it was going to be a smooth interview. You made everything so easy. All of the panelists and all of the speakers, and I saw that they had that same, had a release. They could be okay and not feel uptight or nervous about getting on stage with you.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you. I mean, I don't see it that way.
I know
But
you
I'm
don't.
always glad. You always make me feel good. And you're always such a cheerleader for me. And I really, really appreciate that. Have much gratitude to you for that.
And I appreciate you. I appreciate you. I want to talk about also Maria Shriver. Let's talk about that. So you are.
So I was on I actually cannot remember the woman's name who invited me, but Maria Shriver, when she was First Lady of California, would have this event. Actually, the event had been going on. It was a women's event that went on probably 30 years before I actually got there. But because Maria Shriver had the status and all her celebrity friends, it was a big event. And so I was invited to go. And I don't even think I was prepared for, the level of people that were there. Number one, it was 7,000 women.
Oh.
Right? So although we had done events, like we had never done anything at that capacity. And so everything was almost everything was like a stadium event. And Oprah Winfrey and Goldie Hawn and Deepak Chopra, and I mean, you just name it, all of the spiritual gurus at the time, like everyone was there. And so before all of the attendees or the speakers got there, they had sent it was like a sheet. And they said, what advice would you give to women, pursuing their careers or pursuing their interests or their passions? And so they asked us to write like 5 different things or 4 different things. There was no guarantee that they would get into the book, but they just wanted to be able to have them. And so it was, I think I'd written 5 things and 4 of what I had written got into the book. And so, and that's what they gave us. That was the parting gift in the swag bags to all of the 7,000 attendees who were there. So it was a pleasure meeting her as well, an amazing woman. It was an incredible event. And yeah, I don't even know if they still do it was called the California Women's Conference.
Right.
I'm sure they still may do, just that on a different scale, and particularly now with COVID, very differently. But she, because of who she was and who her husband was at the time as well, they kind of really elevated the status of this conference. And during that time, I got to not only attend, but I got to participate. And so that was also pretty dynamic.
What an amazing feat. What an incredible accomplishment. So I want to go back and ask you, because this had to have started somewhere. Was this always your passion? Did you think about journalism? Like, what was as a little girl, as little Sonia?
Yeah, I think little Sonia always liked storytelling. I mean, now professionally, I call myself a storyteller, but I think I liked stories. I liked to hear stories. I wanted to know why things happened. I was always that little girl. And in a Caribbean family, you're not supposed to be asking all these questions. And so children were supposed to be seen and not heard, right? But I was always asking questions. My mouth always got me in trouble. I wasn't a bad kid, but I talked a lot, even in school. Like I was always talking. And growing up, the only role model we had when I was up was Barbara Walters. And so, she was breaking ground, like the first woman to get Paris, she was the only woman interviewing like world leaders like Fidel Castro, and sitting down with all of our favorite celebrities, right? So we remember like waiting for the Barbara Walters Presents, right? And she would she'd do her top 10, popular people at the time. And those were events in television. I mean, now we have social media, so there's almost nothing new that you can see, right? But those were television events, and she was the only woman at the time who was leading it. So I always felt like I wanted to do, I wanted to tell those stories. And what's interesting, when you have to be careful how you talk to children. I had an uncle who asked me, what did you want to do? What do you want to do when you grow up? And I said, I want to be like Barbara Walters. And my uncle said to me, he said, you're not a very pretty little girl.
Wow.
And that is what thwarted my interest in doing television. Like, he was just like, yeah, I don't really see you doing that. Like, right.
Wow.
So it's interesting. So that's what actually moved me into print. Because in the back of my head, I used to hear my uncle say, you're not a pretty girl. And so, like, I don't see you doing television. I don't see that that's going to be possible for you. And so that's what threw me into print. So what was interesting is when I actually had the opportunity to do television, like when you look at my first things, you could see like the fear that I had, because I felt like everybody watching was saying, yeah, she's not a pretty girl. Like, why is she? And so probably my first year was really tough. Like, I wouldn't comments. I could, even when people said, is that you that I saw? And I would almost kind of like recoil. I'd be like, oh my God, they saw me. Like, what must they be thinking? And so it's really important that we take care. And I think parents and adults understand that better now than they did when I was growing up. But yeah, the things that you say to a young person can really impact them, and impact their trajectory, and help them, determine how they see themselves, right? And so sometimes I do wonder, like, what would have happened if I really did just pursue that all the way. And then I remember I said it again when I was in high school. So my uncle told me this, and then I said it again in high school. And then I had a teacher who also said to me, you'd have to lose a lot of weight to be on. So my uncle said, and then I had a teacher in high school who taught journalism, right? She taught journalism, and she was like, yeah, you would have to lose. And I get the standards were a lot different. Like, you didn't see full-figured women on television back then, right? In fact, I think it's why people thought Oprah wasn't going to succeed, right? Because nobody thought it was going to be her. It was here with this, this big Black woman on television. Like, how many people are watching her? So, the aesthetics, I think people thought things differently, but I thought about things differently, but yeah.
Wow. How powerful are words, Sonia? Words are so powerful. Now, I don't know if you went back and said this to your mom, or, I mean, I know how, what a great influence in your life your mom is, but this was like down the pike. This was your uncle saying it to you.
Yeah.
And teacher, but the most important people in your life, of course, are your parents.
Yeah. And I respected my uncle. I had a lot of respect for my uncle. He dressed well. He was a real gentleman, and he looked good. And so he had standards, right? And he had good taste. And so if he said it, if somebody else said it, maybe I would have been like, well, but he said it. And so, yeah.
That's a mess. That's such a shame. And I know that they've learned since then, because I mean, I can remember certain things that my parents would say, or my father would say, but for some reason with my father, I took it with a grain of salt. Anything that my mother said, I took like, whatever was gospel, right? So thank God she didn't say anything that was hurtful or anything that affected me terribly.
Yeah.
But it's a hard thing to get through. It's a
hard thing to get through. Yeah. And so that took me all through my adult career.
Jeez, man.
And so, up until, like I said, I was probably, when I started doing that, so I was in my early 40s when I was doing the TV stuff at BE. So like, late 30s, early 40s. So it had affected me from that stage all the way up into my dog. I could just keep hearing it. Yeah.
It was always there.
It was always in my head.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
And
so that's why I focused on print.
Yeah, that's like, yeah. And a lot of people radio and things like that. But you are my queen to be, girl. You're amazing. You know, just to be in your presence is like, it is just so wonderful. Seeing your beautiful face here. I wish I could hug you. I wish I could have hugged you back then when he said that.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously they didn't mean things by it because, you know, being raised in West Indian culture.
You know, they're brutally honest.
Honest.
Brutally honest with their opinions.
Yes. Yeah. All of the things that I'm sure know now that they have said.
And I can actually say it now. So I never used to say it, like, you know, I'd said it, shared it with, you know, girlfriends, but, you know, last year on a particular podcast, they had asked me the same thing about like how I started so it's like, now I actually feel comfortable. I can share the story. But yeah, it's important to be able to, not, because the thing is, you're never going to stop people from saying insensitive things, right? And so what's important for people to understand is to not allow other people's story to be your story. And that my new thing now is what I tell people or my friends. I was just like, if we're going to create stories in our heads, then we better be winning. Like if we're making up the story, then we're in control of the story. We better be winning. And so that's my new thing right now. If I'm going to create a story, I'm the queen and I'm winning.
You are the queen. So let's talk about that. Your stories, your magic, your how you are crafting that business now.
Yeah. So I'm also excited about that. It was a good friend of mine who I met at BE as well. She's a graphic artist. And we would always talk about like what made businesses successful. So we would always just, you know, like what this company is doing is really, really good. And we would, you know, dissect the, you know, the content, the images, like how they presented. We would send stuff to each other. And in a conversation, we decided, why don't we combine our talents, right? You know, I do words, you do images, and together, it's a little corny, we create magic, right? So words, images, magic is our tagline. But we saw what people could create as magical when people have ideas and they're able to put all of the right pieces together to tell a story that make people want to either buy their services, buy their goods, then that's really magical. And so we created this story. We've created a course, which we're getting ready to relaunch, where we actually just teach people the basics of storytelling and the importance of, and I think what makes our course and our expertise unique is it's understanding how to tell the story, right? But then it's also how you operationalize the story so that every time your whether they're fans or they're supporters or customers come in touch with your product, it's the same exact experience every single time. And so what we know about, and I know you see this all the time, is we know the story when we're about to start, but then by the time we launch into the business, then sometimes we forget. We lose our footing because we're worried about payroll and we're worried personnel and we're worried about inventory. And, you know, sometimes the day-to-day can kind of, you know, shift you and you can forget why you started this business to begin with. And so you want to put things in place that are going to make this story consistent every single time your customers are engaging with your business, or people who are interested in just looking at your product. Every time they come back, it's going to be the same experience. Yeah, I like to compare, like, you know, if you go to Apple in New York, Apple in San Francisco, or Apple in Tokyo, like it's going to be primarily the same experience. And what happens with small businesses, often your experience will change depending on who picked up the phone or who's at the counter.
Yes.
So those are the things that you want to make consistent, so that when someone says, oh, I had a really wonderful experience, and you send your girlfriend your girlfriend doesn't say, yeah, my experience was a little different. You know, that person wasn't there. They didn't ask me if I wanted that. And I had a very different experience than what you had. So our whole thing around storytelling is really understanding what the story is, but then making sure that it's consistent throughout
And
the way.
turning it into magic.
Right.
Turning it into a magical experience, right?
Right. Absolutely.
And that's so important. That's so important, Sonia. I was on a call I called a furniture store the other day because one of my couch pillows is ripping, and it shouldn't be. It's only a couple of years, it shouldn't be ripping. And I said, you know what, if I can get somebody on the phone to replace my couch, it's going to be magical. It's going to be a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
And believe it or not, and I'm saying believe it or not, because there's not great customer service all the time. There's great customer service, but there's not always great customer service. Right?
Nope.
So I called, they literally picked up the phone. I was on hold for a little bit, which was normal. I did other things, thank God for computers and everything else that we have to do, whether it's around the house or in the office. I was on hold for a little while. The person got back on the phone. She apologized for me waiting, which was a big thing for me. I was like, wow, somebody actually apologized for me.
Apologized, yeah.
And then we got cut off. I said, you know what? That's the end of that. I'm not going to She called me back. I didn't even know she had a phone number. She called me back, apologized for the wait, and said, here's a number. Here's such and such I want you to talk to because I want them to replace your pillow. I almost wanted to pay her for being
And that's what happens, right? That's when someone treats you really well, even if there's a problem, like you're willing to work through it, you know, and sometimes you forget about the problem because the people have been so nice and so courteous and so helpful, most importantly, that, you know, you would shop there again.
Yes, but that's what you're creating. This is what you're creating with your business for other businesses, right?
Absolutely.
To showcase their brand and showcase how they should not be forgotten.
Right.
By telling the story about their business.
Telling the story about their business.
And how magical it could be. And like you said, going into Apple is an experience, creating an experience for every business.
Right.
And how do you start that, Sonia? Like, I know you said you sit back and you kind of reflect and look at it. How do you build a successful business? How do you start by telling the story and making it, creating the magic?
Well, you know, one of the things that we have created is a manual to help people document. I believe it's really important to document what you're doing, how you're doing it. And you have said that too. Like it's important to even keep a diary, right? So particularly when you have a business, because you know you need to be able to see your progress. And so what we do with our clients is we take them through this whole process of, you know, why did you start your business, right? I mean, if you started a hair salon, it might be to, you know, one of the reasons is you like to do hair, but the other reason is you like how people feel after they get their hair done, right? So it's understanding all of the reasons why you created your business, understanding what you're offering people, right? Like what solution are you solving? What service are you offering? And being really clear on this. Is it a need? Are you selling inspiration? Are you selling aspiration? Are you selling transformation? Like all of these different things to really be clear on what you're actually selling. Because they, you know, one of the things we say to folks is that people don't buy your goods and services. They buy what your goods and services do and how they make them feel. And so that's what we're always buying into. We're always buying into the experience. So what experience are you actually selling for people? And really clear on that.
I like that you bring that up. And you said earlier that some people, I think, get caught up in the minutia of their own businesses that they forget about what their business actually is. And you brought that to my attention once. You said, okay, when I looked at AOE or whatever it was, I wasn't sure exactly, was it AOE, was it Inventing a Z, what was it? Was it the Inventress? Because when you're in it, you're just in it. You know,
you're just in it.
You're just in it. And when unless you sit back or you have, you know, your team of people looking, and we've done that recently, taken a step back to really take a
Yeah.
look at what is it? What are we doing?
What are
What
we
direction
doing?
are we going? What are we
Yeah.
offering? Because then people get confused too. Like, okay,
Yeah,
what is
exactly. Exactly.
what is the business?
And right. So it's doing that, and it's listening. It's also hearing what, because you might think it's one thing, and then your customers come back and tell you about their experience, and you can learn from them as well. So storytelling is about telling, but it's also about listening and being aware and being consistently aware, because trends change as well, right? So who knew that we would be doing Zoom sessions for an entire year so far, with many more of these types of meetings to come. And so you have to understand that you're going to be presenting differently, you're going to be showing up differently, and it's okay, right? Sometimes the change makes people uncomfortable,
Yes.
but if you can just, you can sit with it for a minute and allow yourself to just figure out how to be your best self with how things are changing.
I have to interrupt you, honey. I still have my VCR with the 12 flashing.
Yeah, we're gonna have to work with you a little better, right?
I'm only kidding, people. I don't have a VCR, not in the living room, it's in the garage.
It's right. Send it to Goodwill yet. It might be making a comeback. I'm waiting to see.
It's true. You have to keep up. And of course,
Yeah.
Zoom was around a long time before the pandemic.
It was, yeah.
A lot of corporations use Zoom and other platforms.
Yeah.
But I didn't necessarily have to do that. I got on Google calls periodically, but
Yeah.
face to face. That's how we met. We were face to face, weekly,
Yeah.
daily.
Weekly, yeah.
Daily. So it was a big deal for me. I'm like, okay, now I got to learn something new on the computer. I'm just learning, to
Yeah.
figure out this iPhone, right?
I know.
I can't take it. We can't take it. So, like, don't give me anything new now. No more newness. I can't.
I know.
And we're thrusted into these things, but thank God, you know what it tells me? My brain still works.
It
If
still
I
works.
come here and click on the link that John gave me, we're
We're good. Yeah, well, we can have help. Yeah, the help is good, right? As we're easing into it. So it's a good thing you say that too, because don't be afraid to ask for the help, right? Don't be afraid to ask for some guidance or just perspective, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all good, as they say. It's really all good.
Yeah, so that's where, listen, John will tell you, Brittany, Tara, everybody will tell you, I'm constantly going, I'm texting you right now, I'm calling you, I'm texting you. I need some help with this. I did it just before you got on the call. I'm like, John, this font is too small. Can you send me something that I can print up that's larger? Because my printer's not working, blah, blah, blah. So in a heartbeat, I will call, text, do whatever it takes. I'm not shy about asking for help anywhere. Anywhere.
Exactly.
So I want to ask you, because a lot of people are new inventors, entrepreneurs. You've been around for, I don't want to say a very, very long time.
Very, very long time.
You're very young and everything else, but you have a lot of experience and you've done so much. And I'm sure you've climbed the corporate ladder. You have you're an inventor, you have your own business, you have a podcast. Please name that before we get off this.
Yes, it's Business First with Sonia Alleyne. And so I'm really excited about that venture as well, and with Mino Lion Media. And yeah, it's produced really well. You were my second guest on the show. And so so we're on all the podcast platforms. So Stitcher and Apple and iHeartRadio and Spotify. So your audience should go and listen to your interview as well on the podcast. But thank you, Business First with Sonia Alleyne, where we talk to business people and strategists about how to make your business bigger, better, and bolder.
I love that. How important is that, Sonia? I think that women are coming together more so than ever, I hope. I ignore the ones that don't come together, but
right.
The ones who do lift each other up 2 hands at a time. I love, and I like to talk about how important that is for us, especially women of color today. Because there was a time where we weren't so about doing that for whatever reason. We weren't about helping.
Yeah. I mean, I would like to think that everyone recognizes how important it is. We talk about the village, right? And so it's really important that we demonstrate what that looks like. I think spiritually, I know there's more than enough for all of us. So there's no one that can take away from what any of us do. And so I actually feel, again, spiritually, that the more you help yourself as well. Yes. And so, because that's why we're here. I mean, that's what I believe. I mean, we're here to be in support of one another. And so, when you think about entrepreneurship, I mean, that's what it does. Like, entrepreneurship is what sustains our economy. It provides innovation. It provides community. It's wealth building. It provides jobs. And so you think even the act of creating something that you feel passionate about, if you can really develop it to be a sustaining business, it offers the world and the community so much more than even what you wanted for yourself. And so I think those are just really great examples about the importance of, showing up and wanting to do more than just help yourself.
Yes.
Being able to help others is and even if you want to think selfishly about it, it's the best way to help yourself, is to help other people.
And you know what? People who have not had that mindset, please understand it, because it's such a rewarding part to be able to take part in the universe by giving of yourself, ways. sharing a name or a phone number or whatever. It shouldn't be painful.
Yeah, it shouldn't. I mean, I've always had people say, and you are very much like this. And I've had you and other people, folks will say, you should be giving away that advice. And it's like, you should charge people for that. People pay good money for that expertise. And so that's why I set up the business, so people can pay money in a business. But if I run into someone and they want to know, well, how do you do X, Y, and Z? Like, I'm not going to charge them for that. Right. When I wanted to understand how to move, my product, and I was just like, hey, Lisa, I'm thinking about, like, how many hours have you spent with me telling me you do this, you do that, talk to this person, do that. I have another really good friend, Nadine Thompson, she started Warm Spirit, and now she has Soul Purpose. Can't tell you the amount of hours, if I call and say, hey, Nadine, like X, Y, and Z, and they just share. So I would feel, me personally, I'm not knocking anyone who feels like that's what they need to do, but I have been the benefit of so much free knowledge that if I'm going to do it, I'll do it through my business. But if somebody needs support or help, and I did it once. Someone had reached out to me on one of these social media platforms, and I was sharing it with a friend, and they were like, yeah, they don't get that for free. Like, you should charge for that, and and I never responded to the person. And I actually still to this day feel bad, because I let someone else say, no, like, you should charge for that. But other than that, I was just going to call and say, hey, like, what did you want to know? Like, what were your thoughts?
And you should.
And you should. I really do think
amazing. You know how amazing that person will feel if you can have the phone number or the
absolutely
email. How you can change their lives.
You can change somebody's life. Yeah. And like I said, because I've been the recipient of that as well. And I know what that's like when you offer it to someone else, like how they feel. And so it's not everything has to have a price tag.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reason I have my Motivational Mondays, and the reason when you have your podcast now. So your podcast, so you're able to share. Take this information from all of these amazing entrepreneurs. It's free. These podcasts are free.
Yeah, they're free.
And you're doing them, you're creating these podcasts in order to give information.
Absolutely.
Women to men to entrepreneurs to upstart businesses, etc. And it's such a loving, kind, caring, small thing.
Yeah.
That we provide.
Yeah.
As we should.
As we should.
We're here for that. We are not put on this earth just for ourselves. We're
Right.
giving and kind and loving.
I agree.
We're supposed to do it.
We're supposed to do it. Yes, you're right.
But before we wrap, I want to ask you, what advice you would give to entrepreneurs, inventors, whomever, who are just so exhausted and they want to give up because they feel like they've given so much to the business that they're doing and they've, clawed and they're not where they should be. What advice do you give to, but they're new at the game.
Yeah, but and so this is part of the second book I'm going to be working on, or my third book actually that I'm going to be working on. Woo-hoo. But it's really important to sit and be quiet and ask for a sign. And ask for signs. I really believe that. And I think a lot of times we're getting the signs, but we're so on the treadmill, just trying to, get to the next thing. And we stay in panic mode and we're frustrated. And I get it, right? I get it. We've got bills that have to get paid. We have families who are depending on us. And so things can get difficult. But I always believe that if you were driven to do this and start this, like there's a reason you were given this idea. And so there's got to be more ahead of what this is, what's going on presently, whatever block this is. And sometimes if you just can sit still, ask for a sign, yes, and trust your gut, right? Which is difficult. Sometimes you don't know which one is talking, right? With the gut or the head, and so you have to, but that's why you have to be quiet, because when you're quiet, it's really clear which, what's communicating with you or who's communicating with you. And I think you can push through. I mean, I interviewed an entrepreneur last night from Jamaica who had dropped out of school because he had no shoes. And the principal found him and said, what are you doing? He said, well, I had no shoes, so I didn't want to. So the principal took him to get shoes, saw him through school. He ended up coming to the States, worked a great job, quit his job. And he said there were many nights that he and his wife were looking up at the ceiling going, what are we doing? 3 months behind in their mortgage. But he said, I knew what I was driven to do. I knew what my calling was. And so he said, I knew going back to work was not an option. And so 35 years later, or 40 years later, he has 3 children, his wife, and all of them draw their salary from the family businesses. He says no one in his family has drawn a check outside of the family business in over 25 years, including his son-in-law. His son-in-law now works for him. Oh. And so he could have given up, right? He really could have given up. And I get it. I know what it's like when the mortgage is due and you're like, all right, bank account is looking a little skimpy right now. Yeah, I know what that's like, but that is, and I think you understand that too. It's part of the entrepreneurial journey. Like it's not, it's not for everyone.
Nope.
But I think anyone who is inspired to go on the journey can do it. Like I really do, because I do think I really do feel like I think anything that you're inspired to do is a reason. Like I believe it's the universe going, we need this.
Yes.
You are the person to get it done. Yes. Like you've decided you're the one to get this done. And so I feel like, and Michael Jackson used to say this about Prince. He goes, if I don't record this, Prince is gonna do this song, right? So artists get it. And if you decide that you're not going to do it, then the universe just has to give it to somebody else. Because at the end of the day, the work has to get done. The mission has to be accomplished. So you
are so right on so many levels, and just listening and being quiet and listening to your spirit guide talk to you and take it in. And you're right. Everybody is not an entrepreneur. It's not for everyone. I forget that I'm an entrepreneur. I don't even think about it because there's a fire that burns inside of me.
Exactly.
Every day.
Yeah.
Every day. And yeah, I mean, the months are like, oh, didn't finish my manufacturing this month, or didn't have a consultation, or only had whatever. The things are that run my business and make my machine run.
Yeah.
It runs. I can't even imagine working for a person or
That's just it. Yeah.
and that's just me. But some people are more comfortable.
And that's fine.
And it is fine. It is fine. It is fine. I think I'm a control freak. I just need to be part of my own destiny. Well, God first, in charge of like what he sees me doing, but in charge of like how I make money and how my business thrives and how much I give to people, how much I'm allowed, because I'm allowed to do it, because I'm working for me. I can give as much as I want. I'm not going to have a corporation telling me don't give too much to that person, or, you know, not enough to this. But anyway, I love this. I love this 100%. And I love the ask factor. You know, my Matthew 7:7, I live by Matthew 7:7. Ask, seek, and knock, right? Ask, seek, knock. When you ask and you really mean it, you will receive what you're asking for. When you have that passion, when you have that burning desire to, number one, help other people. And have that entrepreneurial spirit that you so deserve, if that's what you are. And just to be happy every day.
That's so huge. It sounds like a simple thing, Lisa, but you're so right.
Happy, smile, make somebody else laugh, make
someone else
look in the mirror, act like an idiot, you know, crack yourself up like I do every single day. I crack myself. Crack up on the phone all the time.
All the time. Yes, it's so important. It's so important, particularly during these times, right? Like you've got to be able to laugh. I mean, people laugh at me because I don't really watch the news. And I said, that's my self-care. Like I can't be bogged down with all of the horrible things that are going on in the world. Like somebody called me yesterday and they was just like I didn't even know what was, I'm not even gonna repeat it. I didn't even know what was happening in terms of, they were talking about the coronavirus, and he was just like, you know, the numbers are up and this is what's happening. And I was like, you know what, I was doing okay when I think I didn't know. Like, and not that I'm encouraging anyone to be reckless, because I'm not. I know what's going on, and I do all the things that I know that I should be doing as a responsible citizen. But I don't need to hear that information every single day and constantly and consistently.
So you know what I've done recently, which is a big deal for me? I have been watching Netflix. It's like it's magical.
Yeah.
I pick a thing and I've been binge watching the thing, whatever that thing is.
Whatever that thing is.
No commercials. There's no outside information. It's only the happiness that's on.
It's what you've chosen to look at.
Like I'm choosing to watch shows that make me laugh. And I'm not hearing any of the outside influences of all of the negativity. And like you said, yes, being a responsible person is not, going outside and coughing in somebody else's face without a mask, etc. We're not even standing too close to another person. You know what you're supposed to do. At this
point, what you're supposed to do.
We all know.
Yes,
Keep on hearing it over and over again is really, it's not healthy.
It's not helpful. It's just not helpful. Not to me.
No, and it's not healthy.
Not to me.
It's not healthy. So Sonia, I have to ask you, what is the song that inspires you? What song makes you get up and say, I want to start my day and be happy?
Oh my gosh, I have so many. I have, and I'm not even gonna get the name right. But Kendrick Lamar has a song where the hook is "I love myself." And it is that I love almost anything by Bruno Mars. I listen to a lot of stuff. So I don't have a particular song. I wish I should have known this, because I know that you love I know you love music as well. But just a lot of, for me, it just depends on my mood. So I dance salsa, so I love a lot of Cuban salsa music. Cuban salsa is just incredible, the music. And so there's songs there that I've listened to. I'm a Caribbean girl too, so some soca, some reggae, all of that stuff I love. And I'm a child of hip hop too, so there's a lot of stuff that I love that new song by Fat Joe, Sunshine. So that sounds like it's going to be a summer anthem.
I love it.
Yeah. So yes, I love a lot of stuff. A lot of love, love a lot of things.
I love that. I had a feeling you were going to say that. I had a feeling you were going to say that today. And what's coming to mind to me, because you know I'm all about whatever. I listen to all kinds of music also. But while I'm sitting with you, you know what song is coming to me is Shaka Khan. I'm Every Woman.
I'm Every Woman. Yes.
With you.
Oh.
While we're doing this, it's I'm Every Woman.
Thank
because
you.
we are, right?
Yeah, we are, which is what makes life interesting, right? Where
Yeah.
we don't have to be, we're not going to be fit or compressed into this little box. It's being able to, that's what life is. It's being able to do things a little differently, see things differently, experience stuff that you might not have experienced before. And even if somebody goes, "Whoo, that's you?" Yeah, this is me today. I don't know what it's going to be tomorrow.
Exactly, and so much more. So what's the dance that let's do a happy dance together, Sonia?
Oh, we need some music.
Don, put the music on. Don is caught off guard.
Because it is important to dance every single day.
Right?
It really is. It's important to dance every single day. And I think I do dance almost every single day. It's important to hear music. It's important. It's rhythm, right? Which is it's the rhythm of life, right? So it's I was reading this book, I can't remember the name of this book either, but it talks about like there is a rhythm in the universe. And of course we don't hear it and we can't see it, but it's what makes everything flow, right? It's the rhythm in the universe. And so I think it's important that we all find our own, and so that we can flow better as well.
This is the rhythm of the night.
We have to go dance. That we haven't done, Lisa. We have to go dancing.
In a very long
I've danced at your events. There's always music at your events.
We danced at the events. We also danced, oh my gosh, in the city.
Oh, yes. At that, yes, it was an ink event.
What was it called?
I think, was it an ink event?
It was an ink event. Yes.
Yes.
Off the chain.
Yeah.
Off the chain.
Yeah, I'm blessed to have you in my life, Lisa.
I am blessed to have you, Sonia, and I can't wait. We're almost there.
We're almost there. We are almost there.
Hug and sing and dance and embrace and just kiss each other. I can't wait. So before we sign off, Sonia, please give everybody your information. Where do you want them to reach out to you? You have so many.
Okay, well, they can follow me on LinkedIn. It's Sonia Alleyne. Facebook, it's Sonia Alleyne. On Instagram, it's I Kick Ass at Work, which is my career journal, and Sonia Alleyne on Instagram. So they can follow both.
Is that on
Snapchat or TikTok? It's enough managing the ones that I have. So and I have Words, Images, Magic on Instagram as well. So I have enough that I can manage right there.
So I Kick Ass at Work. That's on Amazon.
That's on Amazon and through hunterpublishinggroup.com. Yeah, if you buy it on Amazon, you can leave a review.
Do you know that I can't believe I'm saying that word because I still don't curse in front of my kids. I Kick Ass at Work. You're gonna be like, wow, you actually said ASS.
I was told that by someone too, when I mentioned the name of the book, and they were just like, Sonia, that's so not your brand. And so I just stopped talking about it again. I was just like, because that has been channeled through me, and so I knew that this was the name of the book.
I love it. And
I was just like, yeah. So not everyone can show it. We did something on CBS, and they had to blur out the that word, and then I was someplace else, and they were like, oh, we're gonna have to figure out maybe a more creative word to talk about it, which is fine.
That's changing in 2 minutes, believe me.
That's changing too, right?
I'm like, wow. No, you kick ass. I kick ass at work. Yes, you do. You always have.
We do.
Kicking ass since I've known you. on the way, girl. So reach out, purchase a book on Amazon and every social media platform.
Thank you.
Sonia, it's been an absolute pleasure having you as a
Always
friend
seeing you, Lisa.
on the Inventors podcast. I can't wait to see you in person, sweetheart.
Same here. Same here. Thank you for always inviting me on and supporting all that I do. And again, too, I can't wait to see you in person so we can dance. We'll be stopping traffic.
All right, sweetheart.
All right.
God
Love you.
God bless you. I love you too, sweetie. That was the most intense conversation in so many ways, intense in a good way. Sonia Alleyne is always the most amazing person on the planet. I say this about a lot of people, but she really is. Many people are amazing. I'm just blessed, aren't I? I have such incredible people in my life that I feel so blessed every day. And I thank God for the blessings that he continues to bestow upon me. So Sonia's conversation was just magical and wonderful and just amazing. So it was great. I can't wait to have her back. And as I said, I can't wait to hug her and see her in person. So it was just amazing. So those of you who are watching, please continue to watch. And you can watch us on YouTube. You can listen to us on every single social media platform, every podcast platform. Keep on listening, keep on watching. Until next time, keep on lifting each other up 2 hands at a time. And sometimes you have to use your foot. But before I leave, you got to know how to contact me. If you want to be on my show, email me, info@inventingatoz.com. That's info@inventingatoz.com. My website, inventingatoz.com.